The power play begins. Ethan Bailey had always prided himself on his integrity. An electrical engineer with military discipline, he believed in doing things by the book, following rules and respecting others' property. So when Deborah Harrington moved into Pinewood Estates, a flashy new neighbor with her designer clothes and her shiny Tesla, Ethan thought she'd be a welcome addition, someone who shared his values of success and sophistication. But it didn't take long for Ethan to realize Deborah's charm was just a mask. Soon strange things started happening. His monthly electric bill soared from a manageable $150 to over $450. Ethan was puzzled. He checked every appliance, every circuit. Nothing explained the sudden spike. Then he noticed something strange on his security camera footage. Late at night, Deborah tiptoeing across his backyard with a long extension cord, plugged into his outdoor outlet. His blood ran cold. She was stealing electricity, charging her luxury Tesla at his expense. Ethan knocked on her door the very next morning, ready to confront her. When Deborah answered with her usual fake smile, Ethan pressed play on his phone, revealing her midnight sneaking. Her face froze for a split second, then she laughed dismissively. "Oh, that could be anyone," she said, waving her hand as if dismissing a minor inconvenience. Ethan's blood boiled. He knew better. Her arrogance, her manipulative charm, she thought she was above the rules, but Ethan wasn't going to let her get away with it. He calmly pulled out his meticulously prepared evidence, security footage, power consumption logs, and a detailed explanation of how her theft was costing everyone in the neighborhood. Deborah's smile faded. She tried to deny everything, claiming it was just a faulty appliance, but Ethan knew better. He had caught her red-handed. That night, Ethan decided to take action. Using his military engineering background, he designed a sophisticated yet legal smart power protection system, an industrial-grade device capable of detecting unauthorized power usage, creating warnings, and shutting down circuits if needed. It was a precise professional system, built to withstand sabotage and designed with safety in mind. He installed it near his outdoor outlet, marking it clearly with a warning sign. Authorized use only. Unauthorized power draw may cause damage. The system was fully compliant with electrical codes with multiple safety features, voltage monitoring, and a 3-stage warning process. Now, if Deborah tried to steal again, the system would alert her with flashing lights and beeps, and if she ignored the warnings, it would safely disconnect power, frying her precious Tesla's battery management system. Ethan felt a flicker of satisfaction. This wasn't just about protecting his property, it was about sending a message. The first blow. Deborah's reaction was immediate. The very night Ethan installed his system, her Tesla's charging port flickered with warning signals. She noticed the flashing lights and the beeping. She frowned then, as if daring the system to stop her. She cranked up the charge rate, ignoring the warnings completely. Ethan watched from his window, heart pounding. The protection system responded exactly as designed. A controlled voltage fluctuation created a surge, deliberately enough to damage the car's delicate battery management system. The screen on Deborah's Tesla flashed an error message. Her eyes widened in shock. The next morning, Ethan knocked on her door, holding his phone with the footage of her defiance. Deborah's face turned crimson. "You did this," she hissed. "You bricked my car." William Harrington, her wealthy attorney husband, appeared at her side, looking calm but irritated. Ethan calmly showed William the evidence, video footage, power logs, and the technical specifications of his protection system. William took the folder, flipping through the pages. "This system is legal," Ethan explained. "It's designed to protect against unauthorized use." Deborah ignored the warnings and increased the power draw. "That's reckless and dangerous." William's eyes narrowed. "You're accusing my wife of vandalism? And you think a system like this is responsible?" "I designed it to prevent theft and protect property," Ethan replied. "And it worked." Her car is ruined because she chose to ignore safety warnings. If she had followed the instructions, no damage would have occurred. Deborah looked furious, but she had no comeback. William, after a tense moment, nodded slowly. "We'll take this under advisement," he said coldly. "But I suggest you be careful. We're paying a lot in HOA fees, and I won't have my wife's reputation damaged." As they left, Ethan watched her storm back into her house, knowing this was just the beginning. The schemes unravel. In the days that followed, Ethan's life became a non-stop game of cat and mouse. Deborah, furious and humiliated, launched her counterattack. She filed petty violations, overgrown hedges, unapproved landscaping, even a complaint about his mailbox being out of regulation. The HOA inspector, Gregory, a weak-willed man with a clipboard and a penchant for rules, eagerly sided with her. Ethan knew Gregory's role was to enforce, not to question. So he played along, removing the unauthorized lockboxes he'd installed, all the while secretly recording every interaction. Meanwhile, Deborah was scheming behind the scenes. She pushed for a new community project, a series of electric vehicle charging stations in the shared parking lot, promising to boost property values and promote green energy. But Ethan uncovered her real plan. The stations would be installed in a way that the electricity costs would be shared by all residents, with the HOA footing the bill. And Deborah would benefit most, charging her Tesla for free, paid for by everyone else. Ethan's suspicions deepened when he reviewed the plans. One charging station was set to be installed just yards from her house. The entire neighborhood would be paying for her luxury car's fuel. Determined to stop her, Ethan gathered support from neighbors, families on fixed incomes, young couples, retirees. He discreetly installed a power monitoring device on his electrical panel to track Deborah's nightly charges, about 75 kilowatt hours, enough to add hundreds of dollars to the HOA bill each month. He documented everything: signatures, photos, videos. He knew Deborah was planning something bigger, a proposal to install a community Tesla supercharger station costing around $25,000 to be paid for by a special assessment. If that happened, every resident would be forced to subsidize her expensive charging habits. Chapter 4. The Final Showdown. The HOA board was under Deborah's influence, and she pushed her agenda with slick presentations and false promises. Ethan knew he had to act fast. He engineered a new system, a second, more advanced protection device that monitored not just his outlets, but the entire community's electrical system. One night, Deborah tried her luck again. She connected her Tesla to a new high-capacity outlet in the community lot, deliberately ignoring the warning signals. Ethan's system detected the abnormal power surge immediately. The warning lights flashed, the beeping sounded. But Deborah, cocky and confident, increased her charge rate further. This time, the system activated fully. A controlled power fluctuation created a surge that fried her car's battery management system. The Tesla sputtered, then went dead. Deborah stormed over, furious. "You did this! You destroyed my car!" Ethan calmly pulled out his phone, showing her the video footage, her ignoring warnings, increasing power, and deliberately risking damage. William arrived, looking serious. Ethan handed him the evidence. William, a seasoned lawyer, flipped through the files, then looked at Deborah with cold eyes. "You've been stealing electricity, damaging property, and manipulating the HOA," Ethan said firmly. "And now you've bricked your own car. This system was built to protect, not to punish, but you chose to ignore the warnings." Deborah's face twisted with rage and embarrassment. William looked at her, then at Ethan. "You've made your point. We'll be taking this matter further." Within a week, Deborah and William put their house up for sale, leaving Pinewood Estates in a rush. Her Tesla sat in the driveway, bricked and useless, a symbol of her own hubris. Rebuilding and reflection. The neighborhood was never the same after that. The new HOA, led by honest, transparent residents, installed proper electric vehicle charging stations with individual meters, fair, safe, and fully legal. The community grew stronger, more united, and more resilient. Ethan declined a position on the HOA board but stayed as an advisor, his expertise helping ensure fairness and safety. The Thompsons' son rejoined his baseball team, and the community's once fractured trust was restored. Every time Ethan passed that spot where Deborah's Tesla used to sit, he smiled. Justice had been served, not with loud protests or petty retaliations, but with a well-engineered system that reminded everyone. Power is not just about volts and amps, it's about standing up for what's right and knowing when to cut the current. Would you like me to continue with more chapters or expand on specific scenes? Deborah Harrington's eyes widened in horror as her Tesla sputtered and died, the dashboard flickering with error messages. The sleek, expensive car she adored now sat dead in her driveway, bricked by a silent, invisible force she had foolishly ignored. Seconds later, her face twisted with fury as she stormed over to Ethan Bailey's house, her designer slippers pounding the pavement. "Open this door right now," she shouted loud enough for the neighborhood to hear. Her voice was hoarse, trembling with rage, but underneath that rage was a flicker of fear. She knew in her gut that she'd been caught, her scheme uncovered. Ethan, calm as ever, opened the door slowly, mug in hand, eyes steady. "Morning, Deborah. What's the problem?" "You did this, She spat, voice quaking. "You've ruined my car. My Tesla is dead, and I know it's because of you." Ethan took a step outside, keeping his voice even. "I installed a system to protect my property. It's designed to detect unauthorized power use and disconnect if needed. That's exactly what happened. Your own actions caused the damage." Deborah's face flushed with anger. "You're lying. You're just trying to ruin me. I want my car fixed. No, I want your system gone. Right now." William Harrington, tall and impeccably dressed, appeared behind her, his face unreadable. Ethan held up his phone, showing him the security footage. Her sneaking out in the dead of night, plugging into his outdoor outlet, ignoring the warnings. William's brow furrowed as he looked at the video. "What's this?" he asked, voice sharp. "Your wife was stealing electricity," Ethan said bluntly, "charging her Tesla at my expense, ignoring the safety warnings I installed. The system responded and her car paid the price." William stared at the footage, then at Ethan. "This is serious," he said slowly, "but I don't like what this implies." Deborah's eyes darted between her husband and Ethan. "It's all a setup. You're trying to ruin my reputation." "Enough," William cut her off, voice cold. "Ethan's right. You ignored safety warnings and increased the charge. That's reckless and dangerous, not just for the car, but for everyone." Deborah's composure cracked, her face contorting with a mixture of fury and helplessness. She clenched her fists, voice trembling. "You think this will stop me? I'll find a way to fix this. You haven't seen the last of me." But Ethan was already turning away, motioning for her to leave. "I suggest you take responsibility for your actions. If you want your car fixed, you'll need to do it legally and stop stealing electricity." Her jaw clenched, but she stormed, back into her house, slamming the door behind her. William lingered for a moment, eyeing Ethan with a mixture of anger and grudging respect. As the door shut, Ethan closed his eyes briefly. He knew this was only the beginning. Deborah was furious, humiliated, and she wouldn't give up easily. But he had the evidence, the system, and the resolve, and he knew, if she kept pushing, she'd end up digging her own grave deeper. He looked out at her silent, dead Tesla, feeling the weight of victory and the looming storm ahead. Deborah's schemes weren't over, but she'd learned the hard way. Power theft always comes with a price, and Ethan Bailey was ready to collect it. William stared at Deborah, her eyes wide with shock and fury, as the footage played on Ethan's phone. The evidence was irrefutable. Her sneaking out at night, plugging into the outdoor outlet, ignoring the warnings, risking her car, risking everyone's safety. Ethan's system had responded perfectly, frying her Tesla's delicate battery management system. The car sat dead, a shiny monument to her reckless greed. "You lied," William said slowly, voice cold. "You tried to steal power, and now your own actions have destroyed what you loved most." Deborah's face twisted in disbelief, then in rage. "You can't do this. This isn't fair." Before she could finish, Ethan stepped closer, voice steady. "You ignored safety warnings. You increased the load, risking everyone's safety. That's not just theft. It's recklessness. You wanted to cheat the system, but you only hurt yourself. Deborah clenched her fists, voice trembling. You think this ends here? I'll make you regret this. Suddenly her phone buzzed violently in her hand. She looked down. A message flashed across the screen. Your system has been compromised. Her eyes widened in panic. She tried to dismiss it, but her phone vibrated again. The message repeated, unauthorized access detected. Your control is now overridden. Her face drained of color. What's happening? She stammered. William looked at her, then at Ethan. Is this some kind of hack? Ethan's eyes narrowed. I didn't do this. Someone else is involved. Deborah's phone buzzed once more. A new message appeared. Warning. System breach. Your control has been seized. In that instant, the power in her house flickered. Lights dimmed, then surged back, except her Tesla's charging port was dead. Her entire home was plunged into darkness for a second, then flickered back on. But her phone's screen now displayed a new message. You've been connected. She looked around wildly, trembling. Who is doing this? Suddenly a voice crackled over her phone's speaker. Cold, digital, unrecognizable. You thought you could get away with stealing power, you thought no one would notice, you pushed your luck too far. Deborah staggered back, gasping. Who are you? What do you want? The voice replied, I am the system you ignored, the force you underestimated. I am the power you tried to control but cannot, and now, I am here to teach you a lesson. A series of rapid beeps filled the air. Her house's security alarms blared, cameras flickered, and the entire neighborhood was thrown into chaos. Ethan's eyes widened as his own monitoring system suddenly flashed warnings. Someone had hacked into the entire community's electrical system. William, stunned, looked at Ethan. This is beyond anything I've seen. Someone is using your technology against us. Deborah's legs shook. Her perfect world was crumbling in moments. The system, her system, was now beyond her control. Her house's circuits surged with erratic energy. Lights flickering like a storm was raging inside her walls. Then, in a final terrifying twist, her front door swung open on its own. Shadows danced inside. A cold, metallic voice echoed through her house. You wanted power? Here it is, unleashed. Let's see how you handle a world where the system no longer obeys. Deborah screamed, but no one was there to hear her. Her screams were drowned out by the relentless hum of the electrical storm she had unleashed. Outside, Ethan watched, stunned. His heart pounded. This wasn't just a system failure, it was a war. A war against her greed, her reckless desire to cheat the system, her hubris. And just as suddenly as it began, everything went silent. The lights in her house flickered one last time, then steadied. The alarm stopped. Her house was dark, eerily calm. Ethan took a deep breath. He knew this was the end. Her arrogance had brought her to the brink. The system had turned against her, and there was no turning back. In the quiet that followed, he looked up at the sky. Somewhere out there, somewhere in the shadows of the digital world, the system still hummed, silent, watching, waiting. And he understood one thing for certain. The power had been awakened. And once unleashed, it was unstoppable. Deborah Harrington's reign of arrogance was over, but the true battle, the war of control, had only just begun. The world would never be the same again. The end.